look at the person next to you. Say, God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. Now look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together.
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 We come together in the name of love.
We come together.
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 We come together in the name of love.
From every walk of life, from every creed and color, in kinship we unite, in honor of the God in each other. Yeah. So take a look at the person next to you. Say, Namaste, I bow to you.
Namaste, I bow to you.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together.
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 We come together in the name of love.
We come together.
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 We come together in the name of love.
Oh, we come together.
We come together.
We come together.
Come together.
We come together.
We come together in the name of love.
Together.
Oh,
We come
Fake me
together. We come together.
in the name of love. Oh. My microphone was on for all that? It was Scott singing, it wasn't me. So welcome everyone here. It's lovely to see you here today. And good to see all of you online. And David Rowan, those are some nice fuzzy slippers you have on today. No. Yeah, great. Come on in. All right, so we welcome all who practice their beliefs and faith and love. And so let's invite our practitioner of the day up, the lovely Andrea Recht, who is also our board president. All right. So let's start our service the way we start every service here, by just taking a deep conscious breath and releasing as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all people, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. That fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Andrea lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The fourth candle we light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and within our own hearts. And as Andrea lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We light this flame with faith. We'll find this light within our own soul. There is one flame, one light within.
And so how very grateful I am for this opportunity to turn within to that one flame, that one light that is present in, through, and as all creation. How grateful I am for this opportunity to recognize, to remember that God is, and God is all that there is. I know that it is expressing itself everywhere. There is no spot where God is not. It is everywhere expressing itself, and I know it's right here, right now, expressing itself as my life. And in fact, I know that this very service is a divine idea in the mind of infinite intelligence. And so I know this service is blessed. I know that my time-blinded eyes are opened right here and right now to a greater expression of who and what I am, and that I am able to see that truth in others as well. So I simply bless Reverend Mike as he comes forward and allows the word of infinite intelligence to speak through and as him, and that the word he speaks falls on open hearts and open minds. And I know that we leave here changed, different than when we arrived, for the better. And I'm grateful for this, and I give thanks for it as I lovingly release this word to that aspect of God known as law, which always says yes. So I know it is done, I know it is so, and in agreement we simply say together, and so it is. Amen. Good morning, beloved community. It's wonderful to be here. It's wonderful to see you in the seats, and it's wonderful to see you on the Zoom call or the YouTube channel. We're happy to be back in person and invite you to join us in person so that we can anchor more deeply in community and have the opportunity to recognize God in each other. It's a really great way to practice. So come on back if you're David Rowan, if you're home in those fuzzy slippers, come on back in and join us in person. So I was thinking about this journey that we have all chosen to be on, traveling the spiritual path. And I realized that there's a lot of road behind me, and there's still more road ahead of me. I had an opportunity to recognize very recently that I'm not quite fully developed as a spiritual being, that I still have progress to make, and yet I'm also aware that I've made a lot of progress. And so I love that this is a journey. I love that it's a practice. And I love that I get to share the path with all of you. I found myself yesterday tangled up in a web of gossip. And I ended up hurting someone's feelings. And that felt bad for them, and it feels bad for me. So I know that there is an opportunity to continue growing and developing that awareness that my life is the life of God, her life is the life of God, your life is the life of God, God is all there is, and sometimes I get snagged. But I don't want to negate the fact that I've made some progress. And one of the ways that I've done that is aligning my conscious awareness with a deliberate intentionality. And I wanted to share something with you that I got on an email from the Agape Center for Spiritual Living, the good Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith. I practiced there for many years. That's where I started my journey in religious science. And I guess I'm still on their mailing list because every now and then I get a moment of inspiration from Beckwith, which is normally an excerpt from one of his talks. And this is what this one said. When there is a deliberate intentionality that becomes your conscious awareness, you begin to wake up and notice that the part of your mind that is anxious and caught up in the lies of lack, scarcity, and not enoughness is not the real you. And that which is not real begins to heal. It begins to no longer make your decisions. It no longer invades your conversations or actions. You may notice it, but it doesn't have an avenue of expression. And as you hang on in there with the real, harmony and abundance become more real to you, and a dynamic sense of peace, no matter what, comes into your life. And I have had that experience. I've had that experience that no matter what might be going on around me, my feathers don't ruffle quite as much as they used to. I don't react like I used to. I'm more inclined to notice and respond than I am to react. And that's not always the case because I'm in a practice and I'm not yet perfect. But I think it's important, at least it's important for me to recognize when there's been growth. And sometimes, well, you know, I don't know about you all, but I came into this teaching with a real case of not enoughness. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. You don't love me enough. And if you do love me enough, you don't show me that you love me enough. And it went on and on and on. And I don't have that so much anymore. I do get snagged every now and then, but I don't have it as much. Goldsmith says that a consciousness imbued with truth manifests as the harmonious outpicturing of life. And the outer form of our life is determined by the degree of truth embodied in our consciousness. And that's why spiritual community is so important for me, because I get to come here and remember. And I lean on you all to remind me. So thank you for being here and thank you for listening.
my faith equipped me, I couldn't even go outside. When my friends tried to pick me up, I crawled up underneath the bed to hide. I knew that I was never gonna find myself until I got up the courage to try. And when I finally got the nerve to spread my wings, found out I could fly. Sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. Sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. Yeah, I had no way of knowing what might come from all of this. Scares me now just to think about all the good things that I might have missed. Yeah, I was just trying to find some help. I wanted to see myself as a survivor. I had to rise up from the ashes of love, jump back into the fight. Sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. I said sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. Yeah, sometimes you've got to believe before you see the truth. 'Cause you could wait a lifetime for a moment of proof. Yeah, sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. I said sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith. Oh yeah. I said sometimes all it takes. Said sometimes all it takes. Sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith.
Fun. That was really a fun song. Thank you so much for that. We're so blessed to have such fabulous musicians here. Thank you. Jump out of the fire. I jumped out of the fire a few times, I'll tell you. And back into it again. So, yes, welcome everybody. These are the announcements for this coming week. Zoom Fellowship today is facilitated by Elizabeth Schneider, and that's at 11:45 on our Zoom link. If you would like prayer support, please go to our website and find a practitioner who will pray with you. Also, Sherry Gideons is our kind of online practitioner who will always be happy to pray with you, and her information is on the website. Bereavement Support Group is meeting today with Reverend Jessica at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And April 10th is the Law of Attraction group with our own Mike Carland. And also on April 10th is the Healing Support Group. So if you're looking for healing in one of these areas, loss of a loved one, or just healing anything that you're going through, you can hop onto that support group on April 10th and get some support. And then the Lake Arrowhead Retreat is coming up, which is a wonderful opportunity to gather with like-minded people up on the mountaintop with in an unbelievable, beautiful setting at the UCLA conference grounds. And it's workshops and wonderful food and great atmosphere and wonderful like-minded people. That's May 27th through the 30th. You do not have to be a practitioner or a minister to attend. We'd love to see you all there. And now, if you'd like to stand up, we will do our Declaration of Principles. If you feel like standing, you don't have to if you don't want to. We believe in one universal spirit manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and in the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
All right, you guys join me in singing. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. We are opening, we are opening, our hearts are ready to receive. I am opening, I am opening, my heart is ready to receive. We are opening, we are opening, my heart is ready to receive. We are opening.
All right. Very nice. All right. On the first service, poor Evan, I gave him 2 wrong slides. Poor guy. Anyway, I think we got it right this time. So next week, by the way, we're going to start going mask optional. So I'm going to continue to wear my own mask, so those who feel like they want to stay masked don't feel like they have to. But just know that if that's important to you out there particularly, because these guys don't have any problem coming in here being masked. I'm just saying. Yeah. So Margie was telling me she's gotten used to doing her makeup on half her face. That was very funny. Yeah, very funny. So welcome, however you are watching, whenever you are watching out there, welcome. If you are new online, please join the chat, subscribe, hit the button that lets you notification bell there, and I think we're all friends here. So welcome back to Jody from the Pacific Northwest, and now back in Santa Clarita, and so nice to have you back with us. And how you liking this spring weather down here? Yeah, you thawed out finally, right? All right, so it's great to have you back. And so today is the last Sunday with this theme of rebooting. It's the last Sunday in March. I can't believe it, but there you go. And so we rebooted our health in the first week. We rebooted our finance in the second week. Last week we explored how our relationships are tied to spirituality in ways obvious and subtle, serving our highest good and sometimes our less than highest good. I love the way you laid that out so nicely, Andrea. So we're going to continue to explore this idea a little bit here as well. So we also talked about how, we think we're the center of our life, and all these little things feel like they're caving in on us a little bit at times. But that the truth is that we are all spirit in expression, and so we are all one thing. And so the focus this Sunday is tied to our spirituality and how practicing a conscious connection with a God of our understanding can pay generous dividends in all areas of life. And one of the ways that we can check our spiritual fitness is to see how joyful we are in our own life. How is our joy? Are we okay with experiencing joy? I don't know that Americans are really good at that, right? Holmes says that if we feel then that we are simple onlookers and not participants in the game of life, we need to rediscover the youthful spirit of that childlike joy which gives us the energy, happiness, security, and faith that we had and enjoyed as children. I think this is great advice. Now, I'm guessing that many people today are working on recapturing that joyful spirit in some way. But, joy is a funny thing, I think. Joy is a funny thing and can be elusive because we often think that it's something that comes from out there instead of understanding that it comes from within. And so we make joy very conditional, right? When I get such and such or experience so and so, then I will feel free to express joy. The thing is that it must come from within, and it must be cultivated and accepted and then released and shared as well. For in a world that is constantly presenting to us that we are separate from our good, separate from each other, and that our desire is just one unfulfilled desire away. And now we're really, it's always been out there. But now with social media, we're too fat, we're too skinny, we're not smart enough, we don't have the right juice, we don't, blah, 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 blah. Or is it just me? Okay, good. And then, what? Even religion can have this. We can even have this experience in religion, right? All will be well once I'm enlightened. Once I understand exactly and precisely how God works, everything will be fine. And the end result is that we constantly are hungering for more, right? So we know that there is this power that's available to everyone and that we can use it. But it's puzzling to me. Why is it so difficult to often realize our oneness with it? And I think part of that is because it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to unpack a lot of stuff that's been downloaded into us that maybe we haven't reasoned our way into. So central to this notion of experiencing joy is encouraging people to have a direct experience of the divine in ways that are similar. I mean, all faith traditions have this in some way, but there are key differences. So for instance, next month, we're going to be visiting both the Jewish and Christian faith systems as we're arriving in the calendar, and we'll be, visiting these holidays of Passover and Easter. Those are just a few weeks away. Now, in these traditions, believers have an experience of the divine through belief in God out there or up there, who is accessed through liturgy, devotional rituals and practices, some sacramental practices that are tied to fasting and prayer. And Islam is similar in some ways, right? All three worship the same one God, but with distinct differences, right? Those must be honored, that all are legitimate and none of them are wrong, right? That's just where we're at. All three worship the same one God with distinct differences. Also within these systems, sin is an offense against the one God. And the nature of man The nature of man is to be sinful. And that it's necessary for people to make things right with God by asking forgiveness and making a firm commitment to sin no more. Now, in our teaching, we see sin as an error in thought, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Some faith systems believe it is necessary to do penance, to offer prayers, sometimes restitution when possible. Now, I think it's important to note that there are many sects in Judaism, right? It's not one little unilateral thing. There's a few sects in Islam, and there are thousands more denominations in Christianity. Now, when I went to look this up, they said anywhere from 30 to 40,000 denominations, which I think it's all how you do the counting, right? But it might be 10,000, right? So you get, people have a belief system, and then they have the Bible and a few people and a resentment and a coffee pot, and off they go to start their own church, right? So that's kind of how our gig started, right? If we're honest about it. Now understand that almost 55% of people, this is the Pew Research Center in 2010, hold this basic understanding of how God works in the world and our relationship to it. At least 55% globally are kind of thinking this way. And I would also suspect that this is not my religion of origin, for instance. I would also suspect that the majority of people were born and raised thinking and worshiping in this way. And thinking this was sacrosanct, that this was the ultimate truth, because we've never known any other way of being in the world. With the exception of Judaism, asking questions is not the norm until upper division college classes, maybe. So, and the above systems also share a similar creation story with Adam and Eve and a garden and a snake, the tree of life, the fall of man from grace. And this is the basis of what we know today as original sin. Everybody's familiar with that concept, yeah? So all of this by way of asking the question, is it really any wonder that we feel that separateness is reality? It's constantly being pushed onto us, that it's not real unless it can be counted or measured, right? That it's an either-or world, black or white, right or wrong, right? Total dualistic exercise. Now contrast this idea of seeing the world with what Matthew Fox coined original blessing. So Matthew Fox is a former Dominican priest, now Episcopal minister, priest. And so he said this of original blessing: the forces of fear and pessimism so prevalent in society and religion need to be countered by an increased awareness of awe and goodness. Countered by an increased awareness of awe and goodness. I think Fox is onto something here, even if he is a bit late to the New Thought party, right? Now, the Transcendentalists started asking these questions, Ralph Waldo Emerson and others. And then writers like Mary Baker Eddy, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Nona Brooks. Notice they're all women, by the way, just saying. Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. Ernest Holmes, right? So Ernest Holmes was a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins when she was quite elderly. So he got the wealth of her years of teaching, yeah? But they all started exploring these ideas like, what if God is good and only good? What if Jesus really meant what he said, that we are one with the Father? What if God really is love? How does that change the way that my faith system and my place in it, how does that change things? And does the story of my life reflect this love that I say that I believe in, that is heaven sent? Right? And then, do what we are learning about the subconscious mind, does that have anything to do with spirituality? And just what the heck is mind anyway? Right? So mind is different than brain. And the neuroscientists are still very puzzled by this. What is consciousness? And what about the East? What about contributions from the East? The philosophy of Hinduism and Buddhism, Hinduism for sure, predate Christianity and possibly Judaism. From the East, we learn that this notion of cause and effect and the possibility of having a direct experience with the divine through meditation. So what about that? And we're learning new stuff about science really every day. So is there a way to bring religion, philosophy, and science together? Now, these are not just questions of theologians hanging around in some ivory tower in their renunciated life, pondering, right? Lay people are thinking this stuff all the time now. Have you noticed that? It's certainly all over. It's certainly all over social media. So people are thinking that they're more spiritual than religious. Now, why is that? And I think religion has relied too much on tradition maybe to evolve, wandering its way into possible irrelevancy for many people. And then society as well has relied too much on religion to maintain stability. So is it any wonder that most people consider themselves more spiritual than religious? Is it any wonder that people consider themselves more separate than connected to see the world in dualistic ways instead of a common unity? Now, it's also important to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. So my religion of origin taught me the basic ethical lessons based on the 10 Commandments. But, considerations of inequity, racism, exploitation, these things are not covered. They have to be kind of teased out and considered. And the New Thought movement has not done a great job of that either until recently. But it has been changing, and it needs to be changed, right? And, of course, change is both inevitable and uncomfortable. I've never changed anything that wasn't uncomfortable, unless it was my sheets, right? But if, as spiritual people, we are working towards being fully realized in experiencing our oneness with the divine, we must recognize this in others and create communities that reflect the love that is spirit in expression and do it in obvious ways, yeah? So take the humble meerkat for existence. We have all heard it said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We believe that there is a great unseen power operating back of all things. Perhaps another way of saying this is that we are fourth dimensional beings living in a three-dimensional world. Fourth dimensional beings living in this three-dimensional world. So when we pray, do mental treatment, meditate, we are attempting to access that fourth dimension to bring about change in our third dimension experience. But what if our thought itself is that fourth dimension? What if we are already that form from which we believe ourselves to be separate? Fourth dimensional beings entangled in concerns of the three-dimensional world. Right? Now, the truth is we chose to incarnate at this time. This is our laboratory, our cosmic laboratory. To do what? To become more fully realized and connected to the truth of who and what we are. The divine expressing. Now, Holmes has some interesting things that he says around this stuff. When we, the first thing that he talks about in the 365 this week is the concept that there is only one mind of which we think with and think into. We spoke to this last week. Now, the thing about this is that this is not, Holmes didn't make that up. This is actually a Greek idea, right, based in Plato. So that's not exactly a new thought, right? It's just repackaged. In fact, the word education, its root word is educe, to bring forth, right? And so we're thinking with this mind, bringing ideas forth. And I first heard that in my philosophy class in junior college, so that was a while ago, and I thought, God, this guy's weird, man. But today it makes a lot of sense to me. So Holmes today in the 365 writes this, that the mind of God is the only mind there is, and we all use this mind. But in the use of it, we create a mental atmosphere that surrounds us, and that is often thought of as the unconscious or the subconscious. Now, he says, this is not a separate mind. It is merely a reaction of the one mind principle to the use we have made of it. You and I could no more have an individual mind than we could have an individual ownership of the principle of mathematics or harmony or beauty. Now, I think this is really an interesting notion, right? So we don't think of owning the Pythagorean theorem, right? Wouldn't it be great if you could own it and be paid 99 cents per download, right? But it doesn't work that way, right? We don't get paid, we can't own 1 + 1. We can't own harmony, beauty. We experience it. And he is equating this one mind of the divine with that. Each of us is creating in an individual way. We are individualizations of this one mind, and no two of us are exactly alike. But we are all immersed in the collective thought of the whole human race. Jung called this collective unconscious. Now, this is an interesting notion, particularly one more time, right? So most of us are kind of in the same demographic. Some are younger, some of them are a lot younger, but some are, we're about in the same wheelhouse. And just think of all the stuff that we have witnessed just within our parenthesis of eternity that we call our life. And all the changes and what we're witnessing now. And how to make sense of all that. Right? And what's the answer? Because sometimes it seems hopeless. Just as we have an individual subconscious reaction to life, we also have a collective subconscious reaction to life. And just as we are more or less automatically influenced and perhaps perhaps too much controlled by our individual subconscious reactions, we are also influenced by the subconscious reactions of the ages, right? So it's not only a download, but it's also encoded. And the way that I came to understand this, everything that we're doing on our phones, on our computer, all these things that we're interfacing with in tech is based on the binary system on a 0 and a 1. That's it. Zeros and ones in different combinations, different streams of numbers. I mean, that's oversimplifying it. But that is the basis of it. Right? And yet our DNA is encoded with 4 variables of amino acids. And Scott, what are they? No. So I know guanine and was one of them, but at any rate, it doesn't matter. It's just they're reformatted in all different kinds of ways. And now with the human genome, and they're mapping all these genomes, and you can go and find the genome of a tadpole in the human gene pool. You can find a genome of a tree in the human genome. That is all in there, that it truly is all one thing. But then we also, if we think about it, we also have ancestral trauma that is being pulled along in that as well, right? So for instance, if we've been puzzled by, I don't understand why I was such an insecure kid when I had all this talent, right? I don't understand why I was so angry all the time, right? I don't understand this or that, right? This is all grist for the mill, right? And we are not tied to it. I just think it's an interesting thing to understand. And to allow us to step back, that we are not tied to any of it. Because Holmes goes on to say that tradition largely governs us. But we should never forget that back of all this is divine mind, or intelligence itself, in which there is no bondage, no fear, no evil. It is towards this great center within us that we must travel if we wish to become emancipated from the unconscious reactions of our own being. Now, this has the tremendous potential of being truly free. Because if we can step back and become a conscious observer in our own life, then we can embrace all of it. The good, the not so good. The shadow, the light, all of it integrated. And this is what it means. This is what it means to be realized, to be spiritually realized. Right? So the great masters had all these experiences, observed all these things, and then stepped back and just recognized, you know what? I am that. We're all that. We're all expressing this with amusement, compassion for the suffering, and amusement that, wow, it really is all one thing. So I'm going to stop there and take a deep breath with you. And because what I take away from this line of thinking is that daily and with confidence, it's important that I do my spiritual work. And sometimes that spiritual work looks more like religion than mysticism. Some days it's just enough to not lie, cheat, and steal my way through the day in subtle ways. Sometimes it just needs to be enough for me to not offer someone half a peace sign when I'm driving. In other times, the potential in my 20-minute meditation of having a sense of timelessness and connection and a glimpse of what it is to be one with all of life, to fall in love with my life, to fall in love with my brothers and sisters with whom I share the path with. This is the payoff when we're doing our work. So let's play with that today. See what we can glean from it. Take that into our work week. And see if you don't find, as Gene Houston once said, at the height of laughter, the universe is flung onto a kaleidoscope of new possibilities. That joy and laughter are the spontaneous expressions of love and spirit in our life. And there's never been an avatar of spirituality who did not possess a sense of humor, just like you have. So let's take a breath on that and release it. And let Teresa take us into her beautiful selection today.
In your heart of hearts, there is a voice that speaks from truth, not from choice, and it sees all, not just in part. Deep within your heart of hearts, in a secret place, known to your soul, you can't hide, but you can go when it's all too much and you fall apart. There's a place called your heart of hearts. Just listen to your life, it's talking to you. There'll always be a light that's shining through. Coming from a well that never runs dry. When you're at that point, down on your knees, you'll find your weakness can be your strength. 'Cause where one ends, the other starts. Deep within your heart of talking to you. There'll always be a light that's shining through you, coming from a well that never runs dry. When you're at that point, down on your knees, you'll find your be your strength. 'Cause where one ends, the other starts. Deep within your heart of
She got you. She got you. She warned me. Well, she got me too. That's a beautiful song. Teresa James, everyone. Let's give her some love.
Thank you.
And for you on the chat as well. I don't know why I'm putting this on. I still have work to do. And so give her some love on the chat as well. And yes. And you can find Teresa on Spotify and website. Teresa James. Yeah,
TeresaJames.com.
she's everywhere. So, support
For
her.
better or worse.
For better, of course. For better and better. All right, so as we prepare ourselves for the offering, I'm going to ask Deborah to bring up our offering basket. And for those of you who are online, we appreciate the many ways in which your generosity has found. In fact, I appreciate the way you guys have participated in generous ways in supporting our spiritual community. So whether you're on our website, our YouTube channel, or you're doing it through bill pay or snail mail, that all of it gets here eventually, and we're just so appreciative of that. And so this basket represents the many ways in which the generosity of the individual finds its way here. And so we're going to take a moment to give you time to do that. And for those of you in the room, just when the basket is open, you're welcome to participate.
And you guys please join me in singing. Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit gives through you, Spirit receives through you, Spirit lives and breathes through you. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through you. Spirit gives through us, Spirit receives through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through us.
Okay, so going within for just a moment longer, taking a deep conscious breath and releasing as we recognize and know that this basket represents two things: the generosity of the individual that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply, and also represents this spiritual community accepting these gifts with deep love and respect, as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless not only the vision and mission of this Center for Spiritual Living, but anyone connected to it in any way, including those of you who join us online, that we are extending this blessing to our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, that we know in some crazy, wonderful, fourth dimensional cosmic way that the infinite power and presence, the creative impulse of life itself, is expressing itself in, through, and as all of life, in, through, and as our life in ways great and small. And to the extent that we see it, we feel lifted, we feel shifted, we feel raised into ways of spiritual living that allow us to share our good with others as well. And so let's just know that that's a good thing, and that Join me in acknowledging this by saying, and so it is. Amen. Need a little denture cream there. All right. So let's give Teresa James some more love, shall we? Excellent song choices, beautifully executed. Thank you. You're a talent girl.
Thank you.
All right, and so let's invite our presider. We can give Andrea some love too, can't we? Yeah. Thank you for today and for your gift of service to our board, and pray us out.
Thank you. So it is with a joyful heart and with a deep sense of appreciation that I once again have this opportunity, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to turn within and recognize God. And declare that as we leave here, there is a deep sense of awe for the goodness that we see in one another and in the world at large. We reach deep into our heart of hearts and recognize joy and appreciation in everyone and everything we do. So I just bless each of us as we leave here and head safely for our next destination, knowing that we do so shifted and lifted into a new state of being and a new awareness that God is all there is, that God is our life, that God is the life of everything we place our eyes upon as we go forward from this moment on. So I am deeply grateful, and I give thanks as I release this word and simply allow it to be. And in agreement, we simply say together, and so it is. Amen. Please join us for the peace song.
Yes,
Yes.
join us.